go to mute. Just we don't share it and broadcast it live over LinkedIn. And if there are any questions, feel free to ping us. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Bernie. So welcome everybody to our call. If you're a newcomer or a long-termer, we're just thrilled to have you all here today. I'm looking forward to hearing from Arjang from Trendy on food waste. So this is going to be very cool. For those that are new to us today, what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room in a moment and have everybody introduce themselves. And as Bernie was mentioning, I encourage you to all to have your information and copy and paste that in the chat for people to reach out with you. As we all know, this is like a networking event as well. We love to do double duty. Like, let's do a whole lot of things at one time. So listen to as everybody introduce themselves. Make it a point to reach out to someone on the call afterward, because that is what networking is all about. For those that don't know, Bernie Franz Groth that you'll see here, Stéphane Mettrel and myself are the partners in Connect Ottawa, and thrilled to have you here. We love to learn about business people, see what's up and new in the world, and really focus on helping you succeed. And Thursdays, we have a VIP call where we're doing more than networking. We're actually taking it to the next level and having really good conversations on collaboration. So what does collaboration mean? If you want to know, come and join us on Thursdays at 12. So on that note, I will go around the room and have everybody do a quick introduction. So who shall we start with? Anna, let's start with you. Give us your 30 seconds.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I will keep my pitch very short. I am a management consultant, and I basically go on a journey with the business owners to help them achieve whatever they define as success. And I'm also expanding into the SME investor market. So that's me.
Perfect.
I look forward to hearing today's presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. And as mentioned, I'm going to keep everybody to 30 seconds today. Brenda, you're up.
Hi, my name is Brenda. Actually working with New Life Project Incorporation. It's a nonprofit organization, and we mostly do translation. We do tutoring, French tutoring, and so on. We work with a lot of women and youth in Ottawa.
And this gal has been busy. You need to reach out to her in Ottawa. And how about Jeanette?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeanette Martin of MYBC Consulting, which stands for the Move Your Bum Chum Consulting Company. I'm a business relationship strategist, a social media whisperer, and a brand ambassador for many food companies that are produced in Canada. This topic is just fascinating to me. I'm also the creator and the co-founder of the world's only gratitude and appreciation summits. We need more thank yous, pleases, and your welcomes in the world. I'm happy to be here and good to see my good friend Tanya and Bernie. We've met Bernie before.
Perfect. Love that introduction. And how about Abich? Did I say it right?
Abi, yes. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abi, and I'm here in Ottawa. I'm a founder of Nutrition Blogs, which is we create different food programs in the nonprofit sector. And so the issue of food waste or diverting food waste is very close to what we do, and very excited to be here.
Perfect. I love this. Lots of interest in the topic today. Enrique, how about you?
Hello, my name is Enrique, and I work before the food, so I protect water and save water during farming and treating water during our waste. So we optimize resources related to farming, but not only and exclusively. And I think it's in 30 seconds, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Mayank. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh my God, this Zoom software. I'm like, okay. How are you? How's everyone here? You got that?
Fantastic.
You got Mayank. Who's that guy? Oh, Stéphane. I mean, I love the French accent, man. You know I'm in love with France.
Yeah.
Anything that comes from France is just top notch.
You're eating up your 30 seconds.
Oh.
I tell everybody I keep everybody on track. Sorry, Mayank. I got to pick
No
on you.
worries. No worries. My name is Mayank Sharma. I am from Ottawa, Capital Region, Canada, and I am the owner of MS Body Works, which is a health and wellness company. I have a studio in Ottawa, plus I have a laptop that allows me to train people online wherever they are. And what else should I say? I'm kind of bored of having the same introduction. Next time I'm going to have something spicy in it.
Okay, I like spice. Thanks for joining us, Mayank. And Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I'm an energetic transformational coach. So working with lots of different people for lots of different things. And some stuff that I'm talking about right now is around allergies and food intolerances. So there's maybe a link there. So anyone who's got challenges with their food from the perspective that their body's responding in a way it shouldn't do, I'd love to have a chat with them.
Perfect. Nice to have you, Angela. Okay, Michael, are you able to chat?
He mentioned in the chat that he can't.
Oh, he can't? Okay. So grab Michael's information in the chat box. He's from Czechoslovakia and also is sharing information on electric unicycle, I believe it was. Okay, so that might be of interest. Okay, Taya, are you able to chat?
Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
Taya. I am Director of Global Business Development for Trendy. And so I actually work with Arjang. Really excited. I've seen him speak many times, and this is going to be super educational and informative, but I don't think I've seen this specific talk. So I'm just here to listen in today and meet all you fine folks.
Well, awesome. We're glad you're here, Taya. And
Nice to meet you.
Nice. Okay, who we got? Alan.
Okay, well, I'm Alan from the UK. I'm the mindset coach. Did you get that?
I didn't catch your last part. Alan from the UK and?
A mindset coach.
Okay, mindset coach. Thanks, Alan. Nice to have you here. Okay, so we've got one. We got Stefan. How about you?
Yeah, hi. My name is Stefan John Metral. I'm in Toronto, and I am the co-founder of Unified Remote Work, a digital ecosystem workplace. I'm also the co-owner of Connect Ottawa and its franchise. And what I do, I am building online solution, cloud-based website, CRM, and things, all integrated from one flat rate for every user on the planet in its working time. I put my connection details in the chat, as well as my website, if you would like to have an idea of what we're doing for business owners in teams or solo.
Perfect. Thanks, Stefan. And hey, Bernie.
Oh, Margaret Ann, my name is Bernie Fransbrot. I am co-owner here of Connect Ottawa. I'm also running a business called Creative Insight Consultants. I do B2B connections, people-to-people connections in actual fact. I'm involved in a podcast called Property Wizard and Pure Fog Canada. I get into more details, but 30 seconds goes quick. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Thanks, Bernie. Now I've got a Menka down. Are you there, Menka?
Yes. Hi, Menka here. I'm currently in Delhi, but soon undertaking an MBA in Sustainable Innovation in University of Victoria. And I'm super interested in food sovereignty and food security and waste reduction. So I'm here to learn.
Awesome. Great to have you here. I love this. We've got a lot of people related in that circle to food. So I think I've got everybody introduced. So for those that don't know me, I'm Margaret Ann Davis from downtown Fitzroy Harbor. I am a business connector. I like to brainstorm, think outside the box. I am, like mentioned before, the co-founder of Connect Ottawa and also co-founder with Stefan Metral of Unified Remote Work. So everything about business, everything to help people be successful and really focusing on collaboration and team building. Because, you know, a week ago I heard, there could be another wave in September. So what are we going to do this year? We are all going to be prepared. So nobody will be able to say, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. What if we just already were prepared if it did come? So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Bernie Fransbrot, who's going to introduce our speaker.
Hello, folks. Allow me to introduce Arjang. Arjang is from Trendy. He started his career as a chemical engineer in the oil and gas industry, and then he took a hard turn into sustainability, which is a really nice thing, a degree in industrial ecology from the Technical University of Delft, Netherlands. He has worked as a sustainability consultant for the chemical manufacturing, construction, and agricultural sectors using data-driven decisions. Arjang is currently the head of the Impact Lab at Trendy, a food waste upcycling company based out of Vancouver. Arjang, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I will start sharing my screen so we can get started. And you guys should be able to see everything. All right. So, Margaret, you mentioned food waste is something that people are interested in. I hope so. We all consume food, or at least I hope we all do. Waste is a part of that. It's not just a part of what we generate ourselves, but what's embedded in the supply chain and the food system that we enjoy so much every single day. So before I get into the details about Trendy and what we're doing, I wanted to talk about something first. So I read this article last year in the BBC about Canada getting its first climate change induced famine. Now, this one kind of slipped under the radar for most people, so I don't blame you if you didn't catch it. We've had droughts, forest fires, so bad that entire harvests are being lost, stockpiled supplies running low across the entire country. And, the victims of these things are always the most underserved communities, the young, the elderly that really need the nourishment. So, climate change is this issue that we've sidestepped and debated for so long that it's coming back to hit us where it hurts, our stomachs, and our most basic primitive need to provide sustenance and nutrition. So in times like these, our natural instinct is to just go out there and grow even more food. Already there's calls across the globe for agricultural output to increase, either by using more land or growing more intensively. But for those that are in the sustainability world and understand how different systems interact with each other, they realize there's a problem with that kind of narrative of just grow more. So there's a concept in agricultural economics called the yield gap. Simply put, it's just how much food is being produced compared to how much could be produced under perfect conditions. Let's say, imagining a year where there's no droughts, not too much water and flooding. How much really produce could there be? Now let's take that concept and apply it to the food system as a whole. How much food is actually consumed by the end user, us, versus how much could have been consumed under perfect conditions. So if there was no loss in the system, if everything that was produced made it to people. Now, unfortunately, globally, this food production gap is around 40% across the whole supply chain. 40% of all food produced is lost and falls into the gap, never to be consumed. But the tricky thing is that the gap itself is hungry, and it devours more than just like the fruits and vegetables that are lost to it. It also devours the critical agricultural resources such as fertilizer and water that go into food production, the hard work and labor of farmers and farm workers that go into growing our food, and the services from natural ecosystems such as good soil and pollinators. So we need to close the gap, not feed it anymore. Because the more the gap consumes, the hungrier it gets. The more food we throw away and the more food we try to grow to make up for what's being lost, the more we're going to contribute to climate change, the greenhouse gas emissions, and this makes the gap grow even more. And as we saw in the article, the more we contribute to climate change, the harder it will be to grow food, which again makes the gap grow. So the more we try to feed people using the same strategies we've always used, the harder it'll get. So there's kind of a diminishing returns effect here. So we need to close the gap, not feed it more. And that's where companies like Trendy come in. So Trendy is part of a constellation of companies, NGOs, communities, each with their own solutions and niches, trying to put an end to the issue of food loss and making sure that the food products that we put so much effort into producing make it into the hands, or rather the stomachs, of society. So using our on-site drying units called Biotrim, which I'll talk about a bit more, we at Trendy rescue food from farms and food processors that would otherwise be wasted. That's kind of our niche. So this rescued food can then be used in all sorts of applications, from being raw ingredients for soups, baked goods, and drinks, to even our own line of automated smoothie vending machines called Hydration Station. So we're even looking into how components from the stems, leaves, roots of the plants can be used from everything from cosmetic production to construction materials, really making sure that no nutrients, none of the resources and the effort that go into food production are lost to the gap. So this is how we at Trendy are trying to close the gap and not feed it even more. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make. So this article about climate change induced famine in Canada is not real. The actual article is about Madagascar. So some of you might not know, Madagascar last year, food production plummeted due to climate change related droughts. And it's one of the first cases where we're seeing the effects of climate change impact people and cause a crisis. Now, this affected over 1 million people who became at risk of dying from starvation. And it's been a warning sign for countries all over the world about the future that awaits us if we ignore the gap. So with solutions that try to address the food loss issue, we can make sure that feeding people, not the gap, becomes easier, because the preservation of food makes our food system more resilient to shocks and stresses such as climate change, labor shortages, or even, God forbid, another global pandemic. So if a grower can't get their produce off the farm due to supply chain challenges, they can dry it, store it, sell it later when the issue clears up. If a sudden heat wave ripens a field before a grower has had time to harvest it, even though they can't sell it in grocery stores anymore, they can still preserve that produce instead of letting it rot in the fields. And then if another country faces a famine, they can get the equivalent nutrition of 10 tons of fruits in a 1-ton shipment without having to worry about costly and difficult refrigeration. Now, so this is how we at Trendy are trying to address the problem at a global scale. So I just wanted to start off with this kind of narrative to bring a new light to the food waste issue, because a lot of people, when they think about food waste, they think, oh, it's just bad because it's the effort that we put into things that's being lost. But it's really about, it will come back to our ability to feed our society in the end, as things get more and more difficult as we go into this period of global warming that we're, seemingly can't avoid anymore. So, I've talked about the impacts. Let's talk about the economics. The GDP of global agriculture is about 3.4 trillion USD. The estimated value of global food waste just from farms is 370 billion USD. So that's 10% of agriculture GDP that's being lost right now. And, there's a lot of different drivers. If it's easy to say food loss is bad and let's stop it. I think no one will disagree there. But it really comes down to the drivers and what is really the cause. When we started off Trendy, there was a narrative inside the company that it was fruits and vegetables that don't look nice, that grocery stores aren't accepting because, they're wonky, they're different colors, and they're saying no, and it's being thrown away. But that's just one of the causes of food loss. So merchant criteria is one of them. Policy is another. There's actually a lot of food safety policy out there that is, trying to protect people against pathogens in the food system. And it calls for the wasting of entire harvests if there's a problem with a part of it. I'm not going to say, let's use that for food, but that can be used for something and doesn't need to be thrown away. Overproduction is a big issue. There's a lot of market fluctuation these days, as anyone can see. Food prices, jumping up and down like a yo-yo. How can farmers who need to plan for production over a year in advance adjust to these things? And then we're also fighting time. Food rots. It's one of the it's one of the few industrial sectors where there's such a short time limit on the product. You look at electronics, an iPhone sitting in stores isn't going to go bad, but food within a short period of time will. So how do you make sure that you don't struggle with that fight? And it's in Canada, it's a bit less of an issue because we don't have a crazy hot climate yet. But in places in the global south, so South America, Africa, Asia, even Australia, those places really struggle with maintaining their food cold enough to keep it fresh so it gets to the consumer without being wasted. Climate effects, like we've talked about, anyone out in BC will tell you there's been forest fires like crazy this past year, heat domes that have affected crop production. And, funnily enough, there was a drought a couple of weeks after the forest fires that isolated all of the greater Vancouver region. So crops literally couldn't make it out of the farms because of the flooding on the roads. So they just had to sit there on the farm and rotting. And then global affairs, everyone's talking about the war in Russia and how it's impacting wheat production, but it also impacts fertilizers. And that's one of the bigger challenges that farmers are having to face right now is fertilizer costs are going up. Because fertilizers, some of you might not know, are a non-renewable resource if you're talking about mined phosphorus, and there's a limited stock of that. So all these kinds of things are what contribute to food waste and food loss at the farm stage. And so what we do as a company, and I talked about this a bit earlier, we have these lines of equipment called Biotrim. They're freeze drying units. And the difference is instead of sourcing food waste from a bunch of different places and having farmers transport the trucks of food waste to us and things spoiling on the way, we're actually taking our solutions, we've modularized it and scaled it in such a way where we can take it, put it on the farm, and so that the farmers can process it as soon as possible. So as little food waste is lost as can be managed. And so the footprint on our equipment is specifically designed to fit on a farm while being able to process the kind of food loss rates that farmers experience. And so talking about the output, I don't know if you guys have seen this in the grocery stores, they're getting more and more popular, but you'll see like bags of freeze-dried strawberries, blueberries, mangoes. I'm seeing them more and more in my local grocery store here in Montreal, but that's the kind of product that we make. So freeze-dried products are products where all of the water has been removed from them. Think astronaut food. Astronaut food is freeze-dried. So most produce is around 85 to 95% water. So by taking all of that water out, we're reducing the weight of the whole batch by 90%, meaning that's a lot less transportation costs having to be incurred by the growers. At the same time, the freeze drying process, because it's not like heat-based dehydration, so if you stick something in the oven and let it dehydrate, that actually breaks down some of the nutrients. Freeze drying doesn't do that. It preserves all of the nutrients that would have been in the original fruit or vegetable as well. And it makes it shelf stable because there's no water. It's not going to go bad. There's nothing to make it go bad. So if it's in the right kind of packaging where moisture can't get in, it's shelf stable for 18 months to 5 years. So imagine the opportunity that provides in terms of emergency relief for remote communities. You can send out all of this food or even store this food without having to worry about refrigeration. So those communities that are most vulnerable can get the nutrition that they need. You talk to most aid organizations, and what they say is the focus right now is really on providing calories. So they'll send staples such as potatoes, rice, things like that, for the most part, because that provides the calories for people to survive, but that doesn't have much nutrition built into it. So they're trying to fortify them. But with things like this, freeze-dried products, you can provide the nutrition as well, and combat the nutrition deficiencies that people in struggling areas face. So that's the end product, and that's what we at Trendy sell. Now, I want to talk about the economics of why a grower would even want to get involved with something like this, and what's in it for them beyond, the idea of rescuing food. Because it's great, but at the end of the day, farmers need to make money. What are they getting? So in the traditional food waste system, you have the different stages of production, and you have waste being generated at all parts of that process. And that waste really represents unrealized value, things that the farmers put money into, but then couldn't get money back out of. So in the Trendy intervention scenario, what we do right now is we're focusing on rescuing farm waste. So let me see if we can get a laser pointer on this. No, never mind. So, oops. So we rescue food waste from the farm. That goes to our biotrim units. So in and of itself, the diverting of waste away from landfills or other types of waste handling, that saves farmers cost. We talk to growers that say they spend $1 million a year on landfilling expenses. So these are the big greenhouses in Southern Ontario. Even if we didn't pay them to take this produce off their hand, they are saving $1 million. That's $1 million going into their pockets. Now, the output product, as I mentioned, shelf stable. This has the effect of further minimizing loss in the system. So normally where fresh strawberries, they would go through packaging, retail, and then the household, but then there's about like 5 to 10% that's lost in that process. That doesn't happen if the produce is freeze-dried. And then the other thing is freeze-dried powders, they have a very high market value. That's an industry that's actually really growing right now. And we're finding that there's a lot of buyers for freeze-dried produce, but not a lot of suppliers of that product. So this means that with the contracts that we write with farmers, we're able to provide them with profit sharing. So we give them a share of the revenues that we get from selling the powders, depending on the kind of agreements that we have, and really give them a bit more security to focus on their land, focus on their workers and the environment, and really make sure that their farming operation is allowed to thrive in an environment that's faced with so much uncertainty. So that's really the value that farmers and growers see in the business. So, moving on from the economic side, I quickly wanted to, because you guys are all in the business world, I really want to talk about some growing pains and some challenges that we face as an impact startup in the post-COVID age. One of them that Margaret Ann mentioned is remote work. So we're a fully remote company. I'm in Montreal. The company itself is mostly based out of Vancouver. Our COOs in South Africa, our CTOs in Australia. So we have people all over the place. So, aside from just getting the timelines to work and people being able to meet each other on Zoom, how do we build a culture? How do we build the interpersonal relationships required for a strong and healthy company? Because, there's elements like trust and empathy that really go a long way. And a lot of the times, if you don't see that, or if you aren't given opportunities to develop that naturally, that presents a lot of challenges in the business when it comes to communication. And a business without good communication doesn't do very well, as most of us know. So that's one of the big challenges that we face, and that we're working towards. We have a lot of initiatives within the company to try to fly the more spread out people into Vancouver. So I go every 4 months or so. I'm going to go in 2 weeks just to see the team again, have some FaceTime working sessions, and really strengthen those relationships that we've built online. So then the next one is the circular economy is still new in Canada. So these types of impact businesses and businesses whose foundation is built out of upcycling something or reducing waste, that concept is still rather new in Canada. And I say that in comparison to places like Europe. So I worked in the Netherlands for the past 5 years, and there's a lot more understanding when you go out to potential partners and say, I'm a circular economy business, I'm upcycling food waste. Here in Canada, we still have a lot of explaining to do. And then people ask, okay, so how do you make money? And so that's something that we're trying to educate the people that we're trying to partner with, but it's an extra barrier that we're having to overcome, as opposed to companies in Europe who already know what circular economy is. They're the ones reaching out to us because they're looking for solutions. So that's kind of a mindset shift that I'm seeing in Canada. And I feel like that's something that's going to change over the next couple of years. So looking forward to seeing how that conversation grows. Then the next one is the agriculture sector is very risk averse. And that's not news to anyone. No one wants to be first on a new and untested solution. So just to give you a sense of where Trendy's at, Trendy's been, as a company, has been around for 2 years, but we really just started hiring and getting into pushing our solution over this past summer. And we initially wanted to start off just focusing on Canada. And one of the things that we realized is the Canadian ag sector isn't ready yet to spend money and invest in a solution that they haven't seen work on the ground. And what we found was that it's actually easier to do that in Europe. There's a lot more government incentives for it. And again, as I mentioned in the second point, companies are familiar with the types of benefits that they can get from these kinds of initiatives. So I'm happy to say we just signed our first full-scale commercial deal in Europe. And so we're going to be rescuing food waste there first. And then hopefully that'll give the agricultural sector in Canada an example and a showcase of how the system can work on their farms and what kind of benefits they can receive. So we're hoping that now that we've got that first one out of the gate, it'll make our lives a bit easier. And the last point that we struggle with as an impact company is impact versus profit. You know, there's a discussion that we had, a realization a couple of months ago where the prices of freeze-dried powder are so good that in some cases, farmers, it's more beneficial for them to just freeze-dry all of their produce and not just their waste. So what does that mean for an impact company, a sustainability company? Sure, there are benefits to freeze drying because you don't get waste throughout the food chain. But what's happening if we take away fresh produce from the shelves? What kind of impact will that have, both on consumer perception, but also on the ability of people to get their nutrients? So that's something that we're having to consider, because on the profitability side, of course, it makes sense. Freeze dry everything, there's no need to stop. But then the impact side is really making us stop and consider all the stakeholders involved and how that could impact the food system. So these are the kinds of extra considerations that we're having to take as an impact company to make sure that we're true to the mission and we're having a net positive impact on our food system. So with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. It was great presenting to you guys. And yeah, opening the floor up to questions and discussions if anyone has any.
Perfect. Thank you, Zheng. It was really good. You know what, Bernie, I'm going to let you, if you don't mind going through the chat box there. There's quite a few questions from people.
Yep.
Because I've got a lawnmower, I realize, running outside my window.
That's handy. That's handy. So one of the questions that came up to you: how much viability of the food is lost through freeze drying?
In terms of nutrition?
Yeah.
So studies show that, and we're doing the testing ourselves with different universities, that you don't get that much loss. You know, you compare broccoli that's frozen in the frozen section compared to fresh broccoli. They're extremely comparable. And there's actually a bit of a difference. When broccoli is harvested for fresh, it's actually harvested before it's fully ripe so that it can survive the lengthy journey to the grocery store. But when it's, they know that it's going to go to frozen, they can harvest it a bit later where it's fully ripe and has more nutrients. So that's one of the feedback that we've been getting from growers, is that they're actually not worried about the nutrition aspect, because this preservation solution actually makes sure that the nutrition is stable by the time it gets to the consumer.
Excellent. So in Nigeria, they have bananas, unripe bananas. Is that something that would also qualify for this type of treatment?
Yeah, so unripe bananas are an interesting, so bananas are an interesting fruit in general. Their nutritional content varies wildly depending on the stage that they're in. So, you know, green bananas, I think, are really high in vitamin D, but then that drops off as the banana ripens, but then other nutrients pick up. So definitely, you can freeze dry pretty much anything with a water content. It's just a matter of then making sure you have an understanding of what nutrients are involved in that and what products that can then be mixed in with. Most of the times it doesn't really matter, but in bananas, I think that's a case where it might differ.
So Michael has another question here. Is there any food you don't recommend for this process?
Any food we don't recommend? We're exploring meats right now and whether that's possible. Of course, the meat industry is one that also has a lot of food waste. So we're exploring what can be done with freeze-dried meats. We're not holding our breath on that one. We actually got a solicitation from some parties in Newfoundland that are saying there's going to be, there's too many seals in Newfoundland, and that's impacting the fisheries industry. And they were wondering if we would be interested in freeze-drying seal meat. We haven't yet found a market for that. If you guys, any of you are interested in freeze-dried seal meat, please let me know. I just saw Michael's comment in the chat about dairy. Right now, we're staying away from dairy and things that have a high dairy content, milks, yogurts, full liquids like milks, we wouldn't be able to process at this stage. You know, the hardest thing in terms of fruit and vegetable for us is tomatoes and watermelon, because those have such a high water content. So that's one of the higher the water content, if you're getting close to like the higher 95% water content range, that becomes a bit of a challenge.
One of the other questions that Michael had was, if Trendy is this successful, why are you looking for third-party funding?
We're looking for third-party funding because the costs of the equipment are still, you know, growers always want to find an opportunity to offset their front-end costs. And so telling growers that you can make an investment, you know, each machinery, depending on the specs, is 3 million and up. You know, that's not pocket change, especially for growers. So if we can get some funding, especially in the early stages that we are right now, where we're still trying to prove our concept, then we can really convince them to take the risk. Right now, we need the funding support to make it a bit more palatable.
How much, Margaret Ann, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, I have not experimented with freeze dried. I suppose protein powder would be the closest thing to. How's this stuff prepared? Like when you freeze dry strawberries and you're showing pictures of them, like do you add water? I don't really understand what's next.
Yeah. So in terms of the direct to retail option, so freeze-dried products are just consumed as freeze-dried. You don't add the water. It's actually like a crunchy snack. Think chips, but with the nutritional content of a strawberry. Highly recommend you go to the store, grab yourself a little bag. It's like $2, and try it out. It's quite an interesting experience. It like explodes in your mouth as it comes in contact with your saliva. You get a burst of flavor.
Very interesting, yeah. Because when you're saying that, I would just suggest add that because there's probably some other people. Maybe there's other people on the call that haven't tried it. So I'm just kind of going, well, what do I do with this? Like if I'm buying it, like do I throw it in a stir fry? Do I put it in my yogurt? What am I supposed to do with it? Okay.
So, but then most of the markets that we're targeting are B2B. So going to food manufacturers. So think soup manufacturers and the like. They can products, mix it in with their stuff, and it's just the same as the pureed tomatoes that they would have been getting. I see some hands in the chat as well, in the boxes.
You got a few questions up there. I guess we got Jeanette.
This is fascinating. I've been using freeze-dried products for a long time. As a trained chef 1.5 million years ago, I can tell you in certain recipes, so B2C or even B2B, one of the biggest benefits, and I put it in the chat, is you don't get bleed. So if you're making a blueberry pancake or strawberry pancake, normally with fresh or even a dried, it sometimes will bleed blue into your recipes, and that doesn't happen. I would say as a business to business, anybody out there, having a little attachment, if you were in the waffle mix company or a muffin mix, said, hey, why don't you try this blueberries in your recipe? So like a gift with purchase idea into that. Fantastic for camping, fantastic for long range meals, or I think they're called EMTs, emergency meals or something like that. I can't remember right now. Love the products, use them all the time. Great if you grind them up and add them to flours to coat recipes. There is a great need. And I love the fact of the shortened distance to farm to factory to get this in. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Appreciate it, Jeanette.
And Mayank then. Oh, sorry, Bernie.
I just have an off the topic question that, in Canada, this is a big thing, organic and non-organic, like organic apples and non-organic. I don't even know what the difference is. So I do know what the literal difference is, that organic ones are the ones that have some kind of fertilizers and natural manures added to it. And the other ones maybe are like grown in the shed or in a building with artificial sunlight. That's what I think it is. But I want to know, because I'm a trainer, I eat a lot of healthy food, and I don't see any difference. They're the same to me, but the price is different.
That's interesting you say that. So we found in our research the price for organic freeze-dried powders is 1.5 times that of conventional.
I think it's a marketing strategy. You just put something on it and boom.
So, I mean, there is a functional difference. Whether or not that has like an effect on nutrition, that's, I think, still up for debate. And whether everything should be organic, that's still up for debate. So functionally, the difference between organic and non-organic is so organic doesn't have any use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and things like that. That's the main difference. So no human manufactured chemicals, pretty much. So for fertilizer, they use like chicken manure, horse manure, sheep manure, things like that. If there's anyone in the room that knows more about organic than me, feel free to jump in and answer. But that's the main difference between the products.
Yeah, there is a difference, but it's just I'm saying that I don't, you know what I mean, right? It
Yeah,
just,
no, I get what you mean. I
it
get
is
what you
what it
mean.
is. It's like a tactic to increase revenue and all that.
You know, some people are more picky about what they put in their body. So if they rather not have stuff, then
Not to step on someone's tail here, but like the people who actually buy the organic ones are not the most good looking are not the most good looking people, but the people who do not buy the organic ones are more muscular and they're more they put less stress on what they're buying and the label, and they put more stress on actually working out.
Okay, so let's go sideways away from that. Comment on this call.
Taya had her hand up. Taya, do you have a question or a point you want to raise?
No, sorry, that was an accident.
It is totally okay. It's totally okay. Amanka also had a question. How big a part of the profits are trendy smoothie machines? Are you use trendy smoothie machines?
yeah. So we have we're developing 2 lines. In terms of profits of Trendy's profits, is that the question?
I believe so. What are the profit margins? Actually, another one that Michael had before. What's the ROI on this process too?
Yeah.
So I'm doing a two for one here.
Gotcha. I'll take the Biotron one. Taya, if you have any, if you want to take the vending machine one, because I know that might be a bit more up your alley. On the Biotron units themselves, the ROI, it depends on the produce that's being processed. You know, celery, freeze-dried, ridiculously high value. Things like carrots, not as much. So it really depends. But what we're quoting with some of our partners is around like 1 year, 1.5 year ROI. So that's kind of the range that we're looking at. Taya, do you want to take the smoothie machine one?
Sure, yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So really what we look for is we're really all about the high traffic location. That's where you see the high ROI. And we usually say it's about, 30% profit margin, but we have it on a structure. There's 2 different sort of pricing models that we have. So anybody that's interested, maybe just send us a little follow-up and I can kind of walk through it. But yeah, it's really great because the purees that we make are shelf stable. So we're using that upcycled fruit and veg. They're pasteurized. They're put in packaging that allows them to be able to not be refrigerated, sit on the shelf, similar to the BioFlakes. And so it is a great business model because in areas where people are looking for healthy options and vending, they don't have to invest in operational or labor costs. They can put the vending machine, have this shelf-stable pureed product that blends with ice. So the payback is quite good. But yeah, it's a very high return on investment. So good model.
Thanks, Taya.
You're welcome.
Tanya, did you want to ask your question?
I just saw the question.
There she is.
Go ahead, Tanya.
So I was just wondering, like, we're in this middle of a bee crisis right now. There aren't enough bees to be able to pollinate a lot of the crops that are out there, and I'm just wondering how. There's another question that I have that I didn't type in there. We also know that environmentally plastics are have been a problem forever, and now we're recognizing that they're a problem. And I'm just wondering how your company is addressing that as well.
Gotcha. 2 great questions. I'll take them one at a time. In terms of the pollinator question, yeah, colony collapse, massive issue. There's a lot of challenges that growers share with us that with our solution, we're not able to tackle directly because it has to do with farm management, farm equipment, farm layout. You know, another big issue that we're seeing is labor shortages. You know, fruits just rotting on the field because there's no one to pick them. Unfortunately, that's not something that Trendy's solution solves for. Same with the pollinator issue. That's a broader ecosystem collapse issue. Having said that, though, you know, regenerative agriculture is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And so what we're hoping to do through our partnerships is with this increased income that we're providing to growers, this extra revenue stream, we're hoping to connect them with organizations that help them deal with these kinds of issues that they will be facing in the coming years. So, I have a meeting actually tomorrow morning with Regenerate Canada, which is the Regenerative Ag Institute of Canada, to see if we can connect them with the growers that we're having conversations with, because growers know that the next couple of years are going to be hell on earth for them. And colony collapse is one of the issues. So we're trying to make sure, because the more stable they are, the more stable our supply is. So if we can connect them with the right group of partners, while we're not directly having an impact on things like colony collapse, we can hopefully indirectly help them use this extra income stream for things that will benefit their farms. And then with the plastic one, yeah, it's a horrible issue. We actually moved away from the direct to consumer products and went B2B. One of the reasons was the single-use packaging. There wasn't anything on the market that can maintain the seal, the moisture seal that we require on an individual package scale, without being traditionally sourced multi-layer laminate packaging. So the difference is, if we go to large scale, we have a lot more flexibility in the packaging that we choose, and we have a lot more control in potentially getting that packaging back to making sure that it's recycled, because that's one of the big blind spots in the whole packaging debate. Is once it gets to consumer, the company has less than zero control over what happens to it. So if we can maintain that control, that relationship with our buyers, then we can try to make sure that take back scenario becomes available.
Cool. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Okay, quick question. We'll okay.
Yeah,
we'll do
just real quick question. I actually took a screenshot of the biotrim, the life cycle. Like I said, I'm a bit of a social media whisperer, but I want to shout out about this. May I post it on my Instagram? I just started following you guys on Instagram and post you on LinkedIn. I would love to give you guys more than a whisper, but a big shout out.
Appreciate the shout out, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have one question, one tiny question.
Okay. Okay, quick.
So, like, from now on, should I buy regular strawberries or frozen strawberries? That's it. Which one's better?
He doesn't deal frozen. He's for dried.
Yeah. He's right. Look, sustainability topics are complicated. If you ask anyone in sustainability, they'll say it depends. It depends on where you are, where that strawberry is coming from. Is it traveling halfway across the world, or is it grown in your backyard? So my advice for you on strawberries is buy local and buy seasonal. Don't buy strawberries, or don't expect to get strawberries in seasons where strawberries don't grow in your part of the world. So that'd be my recommendation for you.
Buy local? Well, I buy from Costco. They're Americans. But they're local. They're right there. They're right there. They're right next to us. They're local.
Okay, you guys, I love your advice, RJ. That's actually a big thing with, I think, the way the food chain's happening, especially this year. It's a good lesson for everybody. When they said there's a shortage, I go, you know what? Shop what's in season. So we might have to revert back when I was a kid. Oh, guess what? They took it out of the garden and put it in the freezer. Here's what I can tell you today, though. Having freeze-dried option, flash frozen products, and shipped in from other countries, we are living in a world of abundance, really, here in Canada. Anyways, Enrique, okay, I know. Okay, you got one. Do you have a question, Enrique?
Just a remark related to the packaging. I shared on the chat a link for a company that sells a different kind of product but uses a nice concept for Trendy to look at.
Okay, yeah, you guys might be a good connection. Okay, guys, I'd love to keep the conversation going, but I told RJ when he started, I'm the master at getting us out of here at 2 o'clock. Okay, so just that's out of respect for everybody's time. RJ, it was great. Thank you. Great conversation afterwards. I love when that gets going and happening. I mean, we could leave it open if anybody wants to connect. RJ's probably put his, I would imagine, his information into the chat, so you can reach out and connect with him personally on LinkedIn. Thursdays, I'm just going to do a quick drop too in there. There's our 12 to 1 event that we have every Thursdays. So if you want to continue some conversation, we're welcoming everybody out for a complimentary event to come and learn more about what we do. So it's not so much a presentation that day. It's a conversation about a subject. And right now we're talking a lot about how we can collaborate and work more effectively together. And this call is kind of interesting because there's a lot of people that I'm sure are going, gee, I could actually use a little bit longer of a conversation with so-and-so and so-and-so. So I still encourage you to do that on a call. Bernie, what else have we got coming up next week?
5 minutes after the hour, you'll see a survey coming out. So those of you that have attended will be getting that email. If you've opted for no further communications, you won't be getting pinged. Next Tuesday, what to consider in creating the foundation for a successful business. And that's going to actually be Anna. It's going to be giving the presentation next week. So we've already met Anna. So this is good. And so I've covered that. Save the chat, hit the 3 dots, and you got it.
Perfect. So I guess that's wraps it up. It's going to be 2 o'clock. So thank you all for taking the time to join us. I hope you learned something. Arjang, again, it was just a great event. Okay, we got, since it didn't say 2 o'clock yet, what's the biggest tip you'd like people to leave with today?
Buy organic.
Buy local, buy seasonal. That's probably the biggest thing.
You have to define local, man. You have to define what local is.
Grown locally.
Local, strawberries are coming up. It's June. Grow your lettuce inside in the container. Oh, seriously? Okay, we're going to go off the live streaming, I guess, Bernie, but we can leave this open for a few seconds.
I've got to go.
Thanks to everybody
Sorry.
that has to run to another meeting, but I did see a couple of questions. If you do want to ask a question, I'm open. Arjang, do you got another meeting to go to?
I got to head out too. I got another meeting.
Okay, there we go. So guys, thanks a lot for joining us today. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.